Good evening, everyone. It's now 7 p.m. and I'd like to start the meeting of the General Services Committee. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Item 1, apologies for absence. We've received apologies from Councillor Kent and Councillor Worrell. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Watson will be late.
Okay, thank you. So I think I should have said as well, sorry, Councillor Watson is here to replace Councillor Kent, and Councillor Muldowney is here in place of Councillor Worrell. Item 2, urgent items of business. I've not agreed to any item of urgent business. Item 3, does anyone wish to declare a declaration of interest? No, thank you. So, item 4, constitution review process. Can I ask Matt Bolter to present this item, please?
Thank you, Chair. So this report before you tonight introduces the process for the long-term review of the Constitution going forward in accordance with the Best Value report. The report in previous months has been socialised with SLT and group leaders. The approach is slightly different to last year. Last year and previous years, we've had a Constitution working group which has looked at various issues with the Constitution. This new proposal, you will see, has two Constitution working groups. We have an Officer Constitution working group and a Member Constitution working group. And the reason that is so is because we can then cover both aspects of the review. The technical aspects will be covered in the Officer Constitution Working Group, where officers can give us practical feedback about how they use the Constitution, when they use it, what they find useful, what they don't find useful, and what they need in the Constitution to allow them to do an efficient and effective job. And then the Member Constitution Working Group is obviously to get political views and ownership of the review and the findings. Other differences are that we are going to involve external professional organisations during parts of the review. We've already engaged CIPFA, the Centre for Finance and Accounting, in the reviewing of the financial regulations. That is very well advanced. Myself and Assi and other colleagues talk to them regularly about their work, and they are actually close to a point where they can actually share with us the revised draft. We're also engaging the Centre for Governance Scrutiny in aspects of overview and scrutiny and how that is dealt with in the Constitution, plus the structure and how that will be reflected in the document. And also we've approached the Local Government Association for some focus support as well. Something that's become apparent is that we do need some extra capacity to help us draft any refreshed documents and sections and to help us create an ordered programme for members and officers to follow throughout coming months. The expectation is that we cannot review the Constitution all in one. It's a very big document, and the expectation is that full council ultimately will receive sections of the Constitution to agree, so that it will be like a creeping barrage, I suppose, of updates, so that at the end of the process, after several reports, the Constitution will be fully revised. The work to date, as I've said, we have engaged CIPFA already. CFGS have also provided some outline of the support, and we'll be progressing that actually this week with them. The Officer Constitution Working Group has already met, and that was a really positive meeting, and we got some interesting feedback that we've already added onto an action plan. And the Member Constitution Working Group is due to meet at the end of this month. The aim is to have both Constitution Working Groups aligned, and we will produce a work plan or a table of action points so that both Constitution Working Groups will agree that they're both pulling on the same rope at the same time and in an orderly fashion. And I suppose really the last thing I just want to add is that the reason this report is here is because General Services in the Constitution has the responsibility to make the final recommendations to full council. So it's appropriate that you tonight engage and own and acknowledge the process so that officers and members can go forward confidently with the review. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Just a question for me. So the Constitutional Working Group with members, that existed previously. So what you're saying is we're adding in that extra bit of an Officers Constitutional Working Group. So that's the extra bit. So does that need to be reported back to full council because we're changing things slightly?
No, it doesn't, Chair. No. So the Constitution Working Group is within the powers of the members to decide how they wish to do it, and General Services established the Constitution Working Group kind of as a subcommittee, not formally as a subcommittee. So the Constitution Working Group is your arm to this committee, and they will do the detailed work. And tonight you are simply agreeing that you would also like an Officer Constitution Working Group to exist alongside that, and the two to have dialogue so that we get the technical expertise and the practical advice from officers, plus the political and community input, community leadership input from members.
Okay, thank you. And just, you did mention it, because I got it down here to mention, but you did mention, so there's going to be a work plan that both will agree, so they're not looking at different things, they'll come together, you did say that. And just the final point, on the officers one, it says to meet quarterly, but we don't set any sort of minimum standard for the constitution at the members group. I just wondered if it's worth having something in there to say that, we want you to meet at least quarterly.
Yeah, I think that's fair comment, and we can add that. I actually think they might meet more than that, and I think it will be responsive. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can certainly add that, so you have that minimum requirement there.
Okay, thank you. Members, Councillor.
Thank you. Can I just ask, having read this, are we sort of saying that although we had a working group before, this new structure will allow us to go almost back to square one and really look at it all in depth?
Yeah, I think the Constitution Working Group last year, I think, did some really good work, and we produced a report, or they produced a report that went to full council in June 2022, and I think that addressed some of the long-standing issues that members had raised. As part of the review work last year, we did approach officers, and officers did come forward with some ideas and changes. I think what has happened since the publication of the Best Value report is there clearly is an expectation to corporately review the Constitution. So that is not just going to officers and saying, what do you feel you need to change? It's actually going back to square one and saying, is this 400-page document what Thurrock needs and wants in the current situation, current environment, and going forwards? So it is a real belt and braces, root and branch review of that document, and it's going to take time, and it requires a lot of input from a lot of different people, officers, members, and external bodies.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Arnold, then Councillor Watson.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think Matthew's just really sort of explained it in the difference of it was more member-led before. This will be more officer-led, but with members' agreement, so that we can look at things that the Recovery Board and the Best Value Inspection have highlighted. So for me, I mean, I like a flowchart in with a procedure to give you a run-in. I would suggest that you add a box before the Officer Constitution Group, which is the IRB, the Recovery Board, or the Governance Board, whichever. Because we've got the Recovery Governance Board, haven't we? And then we've got the.
Councillor Watson.
Thank you. I'm on the Constitution Working Group, and we did do a good bit of work. Probably agree that the Governance Improvement Board that you probably sit on, the ones with the leaders, should be before the Officers' Constitution. However, I'm looking at this as more led by the officers because they're the ones that's working on it, and we would be leading on the scrutiny governance side of it. And I'm pretty sure that the key between the officers' constitution and us would probably be the monitoring officer that will be sitting on both, along with you, Matt. So there will be a continuity all the way through. Totally agree. Constitution needs to be rewrote from top to bottom, to be honest with you. It is dated, and it doesn't reflect what it should be reflecting, and that's been picked up on the in the BVI. And the first meeting, if I'm right, is it the end of this month? It's the end of this month. So, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may, I think that's a really useful comment. I think also just to add my interpretation, I think the certainly the officers' approach, is that officers will be very much more, not more involved in the review because they were involved before, but I think the difference in approach is that we are asking officers how they want to use the Constitution as much as we are asking members. So I think not necessarily that officers are leading members on the review. It will be a dialogue between the two. However, we also have the presence of external professional bodies such as CFGS and CITFA, who will be providing that topsoil of best practice, national best practice. So, yeah, it's definitely a collaborative effort between all three of those sectors.
Thank you, Matt. Any Councillor Muldowney?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, yes, I think it is good that we're having some professional external bodies becoming involved with this. I just had a query about the LGA involvement, because under financial, it says that the CITFA costs have been agreed corporately through the expenditure control process, which is fine. Other costs relating to the LGA and the CFGS's support have been agreed strategically between Commissioners, the LGA and Thurrock Council. Does that mean that there will be a cost for that advice to us, or I wasn't altogether clear what that meant?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So the Council has an agreement at the moment to seek some support, including financial support from the LGA. It's the East Region Local Government Association. So the costs that will be incurred by these external professional bodies will come out of that, basically that budget that we've got. What's been offered to us has gone through the Governance Review Board and is also would be presented to the IRB. So members are aware of what the support package is that they are providing to Thurrock to assist us in the improvement process. So there will be no, at this stage, there will be no cost to us direct, if that makes sense, because they've given us a set budget.
Thank you.
Any other members wishing to speak? No. So I'll read the recommendation for clarity. So the recommendation is to endorse the Constitution Working Group process for the forthcoming review of the Constitution, including the involvement of external organisations for aspects of the Constitution, plus the amendments that we put in. Yeah. So is everyone in agreement? Thank you. So for the next item on the agenda, we need to move into exempt session. So can I ask for the recording to be stopped, please?